Today marks tax day, as we mentioned, and it's the deadline to file. But there could be major changes at the IRS that could impact future tax seasons. Our Washington, D.C. correspondent Rachel Knapp has more for us tonight.
According to reports, the IRS could cut as many 20,000 staffers. It's all part of the administration's efforts to reduce the size of the federal workforce and bureaucracy. According to a report from the AP, the Treasury Department says any staffing reductions are part of a larger process for improvements and tech innovations that will allow the IRS to operate more effectively.
This tax season is probably going to be less affected.
A senior policy analyst with the Tax Foundation, a nonpartisan tax policy nonprofit, believes any impacts from staffing cuts to the agency will show up a few years down the road.
It's very difficult to estimate the impact of IRS funding on enforcement and tax revenue collections because, well, if taxes aren't being collected, it's hard to develop very good data about the taxes that aren't being paid. But you can expect that you would reasonably expect some less tax revenue being collected, and in the future also lower quality service, so lower responsiveness rates and more common delays on refunds and return processing, especially if we encounter a crisis like COVID.
He adds you could theoretically justify reducing the IRS headcount if you simplify the tax code and make it dramatically easier to administrate.
The U.S. tax code is quite complex, and you need people to handle collecting revenue. At the end of the day, the IRS is an enforcement agency and a service agency. The people responsible for your tax laws are Congress. So I think there's a lot of sort of misdirected frustration. Not to say the IRS is perfect, but there's a lot of misdirected frustration that really belongs at the halls of Congress.
In Washington, Rachel Knapp, Erie News Now.
Congressional Republicans are looking to make the 2017 Tax Cuts and Jobs Act permanent. That legislation overhauled the federal tax code by reforming individual and business taxes. The analyst with the Tax Foundation tells us the legislation did make things more simpler for people, but if there are changes to the tax code, people will be looking for guidance from the IRS to navigate.